biggest favorite part is the customer always has to be right.
You could possibly say right now to me,
Well,
none.
it was him, obviously. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have acted that way.
That makes it worse.
Worst employees ever on. Undercover Boss getting fired. Step into the realm of the worst firings on Undercover Boss. An electrifying roundup highlighting the most jaw-dropping moments when undercover executives took charge and delivered consequences. Ever wondered what happens when a cocky employee misjudges a hidden boss? Spoiler, it's never a good outcome for the worker. Today, we unveil 7 unforgettable terminations caught on film, combining suspense with a dash of humor. These tales range from fast food chaos to gym blow-ups, proving that mistreating customers or ignoring rules brings swift corporate justice. But before diving into these viral-worthy firings, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible workplace stories. Drop a comment on which firing you felt was most deserved, or share a memorable boss-employee story of your own. You might even land a spot in our next list. Now let's begin this compelling journey of hidden leadership and accountability. Grab your snacks, these CEOs are not playing around. 1. Boston Market, Rotisserie roast, customer hater gets burned. Kicking off the countdown is a stunning segment from Season 4 of Undercover Boss at Boston Market, an episode that shocked audiences and led to an employee named Ronnie being promptly terminated. It marked a first for the show, someone actually getting fired mid-filming, and truth be told, Ronnie kind of sealed his own fate. Tasked with training a new server, who he believed was just another rookie, Ronnie wasted no time showing his true colors. That clumsy new waitress? She was actually Sarah Bittorf, the chief brand officer going undercover. But Ronnie didn't bother hiding his disdain. He immediately launched into an anti-customer rant right in front of his undercover superior.
Children and old people are literally the worst I've ever seen in my entire life.
As the lunch rush rolled in, Ronnie kept venting to his trainee, who was quietly mortified, spewing hatred toward the very people who kept him employed. "I hate customers more than anything in the world," he declared, while the cameras rolled non-stop. He raged that guests were entitled and demanding, griping it's always about them, they want everything. Broadcast on national TV, Ronnie was single-handedly torching his job. The irony, he worked in customer service. Meanwhile, Sarah did her best to stay undercover, her shock growing with each bitter outburst. Committed to guest experience, she was clearly shaken. At one point, she had to step away just to calm down. "I can't let this slide," she told producers, her tone tight with frustration. Then came the bombshell. Sarah pulled Ronnie aside, dropped her cover, and revealed her true identity. His face reportedly drained of color as it dawned on him that he'd been venting to a top exec. She didn't hesitate. In front of cameras and the store manager, she let him go on the spot. "No customers means no business means no paycheck," she said sharply, hitting harder than anything in the rotisserie. The call was decisive, and viewers applauded her move. Ronnie stood there stunned, cap still in hand, while the manager was instructed to finalize his dismissal. Though her cover was blown, Sarah chose principle over pretense, and audiences rallied behind her decision. But Ronnie wasn't done making it worse. Instead of taking responsibility, he doubled down, acting like the victim. "I don't think what I did was that bad," he insisted, missing the entire point. "I'm allowed to hate people," he said with a shrug, as if professionalism didn't apply. During his exit interview, he grumbled, "No one hears me say it, so it shouldn't matter. But now this giant lady of Boston Market does, and that's just not fair." Yes, he really called the executive who fired him the giant lady of Boston Market. Pro tip, maybe don't insult your boss's appearance after getting canned on national television. His ego was staggering, and viewers were both horrified and amused. Online, people backed Sarah, posting comments like, "Bye Ronnie," and "She did the right thing." Because let's be real, no one wants to order food from someone who loathes them. The takeaway? Sarah's swift firing of Ronnie was tough, but totally warranted. In the customer service world, if you openly despise the people you serve, you're done. Ronnie became a viral cautionary tale for workplace behavior. His meltdown resonated, especially with folks who've dealt with rude employees themselves. That day, Boston Market drew a clear line: disrespecting guests will cost you your job. Ronnie earned a permanent spot in Undercover Boss infamy and an indefinite break from fast food. He got grilled, seared, and fully served. Stick around, it only gets crazier from here. You've seen terminations over attitude and rule breaking, but the next case raises the bar even higher. Coming in at number 2 is a scenario so outrageous it went viral. Just imagine skimpy outfits, too many cocktails, and a CEO with the worst motivation strategy we've ever seen. 2. Checkers and Rallies, check yourself, you're fired. Next up is the legendary Showdown at Checkers and Rallies, Season 3, a clash so explosive it remains burned into fans' memories. This wasn't your typical dismissal, it wasn't just any staffer being let go, it was a manager crossing so many lines that the undercover CEO shut it all down mid-shift. That CEO, Rick Silva, the antagonist, a general manager named Stevens. This installment set a new standard for televised firings, actually closing an entire restaurant during peak dinner time. Here's how it all played out. Rick Silva went undercover at a Florida drive-in location, manning the fryer and grill like a new recruit. Right away, he noticed the vibe was wrong. Employees seemed anxious and guarded. Why? Because Stevens, their GM, ruled through fear. One worker, Todd, confided that Stevens screamed at them constantly and even made violent threats if they didn't move fast enough. That's right, he acted more like a military drill instructor than a restaurant manager. Rick saw this toxic dynamic firsthand during his shift with Todd. Stevens yelled at Todd for chatting and later snapped at Rick as well. The tension in that kitchen was thicker than one of their signature milkshakes. The breaking point came when Rick, still in disguise, confronted Stevens about his behavior. That's when things escalated. Outside the restaurant, Stevens erupted, "Don't accuse me of mistreating staff. Do you even know this business?" The twist? He was yelling at the CEO. Rick kept his cover, "No, I'm new to this." But Stevens kept digging deeper. He defended his shouting and mocked Rick's supposed ignorance. That's when Rick had enough. Time for the charade to end. Looking Stevens straight in the face, Rick came clean. "Let me be honest, I've been in this business for over 20 years. I'm the CEO of Checkers and Rallies." Boom. No boardroom drama here. The reveal took place in the parking lot, still in uniform, while cameras rolled. Stevens stood speechless mid-argument as Rick delivered the final blow. "We're shutting this place down immediately," and he wasn't bluffing. Rick closed the restaurant on the spot, dismissing the entire crew. The shift ended. Forever. It was an epic move. Todd and the rest of the staff looked like they'd just watched Batman reveal his identity. In a sense, they had. Their CEO had just swooped in to save the day. Now you're likely asking, wait, was Stevens officially terminated on the spot? Technically, Rick said Stevens was being reassigned and pulled from that store. But let's be real, that's corporate speak for "you're done here." A new manager took over the next day, and Stevens was history. That counts as a public firing in our book. Rick got tons of praise for it. I mean, when's the last time a CEO shut down their own location to protect team morale? Fans loved it. Social media blew up with posts like "Rick Silva is a hero," celebrating how quickly and firmly he acted. After all, a boss who threatens violence is a lawsuit waiting to happen, not to mention toxic for team spirit. What made it so unforgettable was the exchange. When Stevens questioned Rick's experience, that calm "I'm the CEO of this company" was an instant classic. Millions of viewers probably yelled "boom" in their living rooms. It became one of the show's most iconic scenes. News outlets even picked it up, framing Rick's move as textbook leadership. One headline nailed it. Silva was so disgusted by the abuse that he ended the charade and shut the place down. Rick later explained he couldn't, in good conscience, allow his staff to endure those working conditions, and he meant it. This wasn't just a case of bad manners, it was a CEO confronting a broken workplace. Rick Silva didn't simply remove a problem manager, he made a powerful stand. Stevens wasn't just replaced, he was publicly shamed by the very person who signed his paycheck. And unlike other firings on this list, this one sparked no debate. Viewers rallied around Rick as if he just delivered poetic justice. That's what landed this story in the top spot. It had all the elements: high stakes, a dramatic reveal, and a villain finally facing consequences. In Rick's own final words, "We're done here," and with that, Stevens was out of the picture. 3, Retro Fitness, Jim Rant gets jacked by the CEO. Claiming the number 4 position is one of the most jaw-dropping terminations in Undercover Boss history. Retro Fitness Season 4. Meet Jacqueline, a front desk manager who turned the gym into her personal soap opera, delivering a customer service disaster for the ages. Her unwilling audience, none other than Undercover CEO Eric Casaburi. If poor attitude were a competitive sport, Jacqueline would have taken home the gold. She thought she was training a clueless new hire named Barry. What she didn't know? Barry was actually Casaburi, the company's founder and CEO, disguised to secretly assess her conduct. Spoiler, it was a train wreck. Right out of the gate, Jacqueline showcased her worst behavior. She bragged about avoiding members to play on her phone and showed blatant disrespect to guests. Her greatest hits included lines like, "Members are literally stupid, and sometimes I just want to punch people in the face." She didn't whisper these either, she said them loud and clear, dripping with hostility. Meanwhile, the CEO tried to keep a straight face and avoid falling off the elliptical from sheer disbelief. The most shocking moment. When Barry asked her to do a basic task, Jacqueline snapped, "I am not a fudge slave." Yes, she had a full-blown tantrum in front of staff, customers, and her undercover boss.
Be obnoxious. I'm not a slave. I don't work for you.
The gym went dead quiet. Staff and clients froze in shock as Jacqueline's tirade echoed through the room. She even shouted at a departing member over a late payment, so viciously that all heads turned. Honestly, if Retro Fitness ever needed a what not to do employee training video, Jacqueline made one unintentionally and in HD. Through all this, Eric Casaburi managed to stay in character and hold it together, barely, but it was obvious he was mentally counting to 10, or maybe 1,000. Eventually, the moment of truth arrived. Eric returned, no wig, no disguise, and his expression said everything. He brought franchise owner Bob along to help drop the hammer. Together, Eric and Bob sat down with Jacqueline and told her the truth. Bob didn't sugarcoat things. He flat out said, "We have to part ways. I can't let you work the front desk like this. I'm disappointed." That's business speak for a "you're fired." Jacqueline's reaction, no surprise, no regret, just more attitude. "Maybe I dropped the F-bomb," she said casually, like she'd misfiled paperwork. "I can't even deal," she muttered, followed by another swear under her breath. It was probably the least apologetic firing in the show's run. The termination was swift, blunt, and totally justified. Casaburi never yelled. He didn't need to. His message landed loud and clear. A toxic attitude has no place in a customer-driven company. The audience applauded. Viewers had zero sympathy for Jacqueline, with one person tweeting, "Good job removing the crazy girl." Eric later posted, "I don't remove people, they remove themselves." Total mic drop. In the end, Retro Fitness lost one employee, but gained something far more valuable, a legendary example of what not to do. Jacqueline's actions became notorious, a textbook case of how not to behave around a CEO or anyone else. Her firing wasn't just a job loss, it became a viral lesson in self-destruction. The scene exploded online, and Casaburi earned widespread praise for his direct approach. What makes this episode so memorable is how perfectly it captured the show's purpose: CEOs going undercover to see what's really happening on the ground. In this case, Eric uncovered an employee who'd clearly been poisoning the workplace culture. Rather than ignore it, he confronted the problem head-on. As Eric might say, the strongest muscle in business isn't your arms, it's the guts to cut loose those holding your team back. Jacqueline's firing wasn't just a staffing decision, it was a clear message. Toxic team members don't get second chances. Not when Eric's in charge. In the fitness world, bad form gets corrected, and this one, she was permanently sidelined. 4. Bikini Sports Bar and Grill, dress code debacle, aka it's called bikinis not t-shirts. Securing the number 4 spot is arguably one of the most uncomfortable firings ever shown on Undercover Boss. In Season 6, Doug Guller, CEO of Bikini Sports Bar and Grill, went undercover at his own chain of restaurants, where servers wore bikinis as uniforms. What ensued was a cringeworthy combination of tone-deaf policies, and questionable choices that sparked widespread outrage on social media. At the heart of this controversy was a bartender named Jessica. Disguised as Jake, Doug watched her perform reasonably well behind the bar, although she made a few errors, like overpouring drinks and revealing she had aspirations beyond working at a bikini bar. But what really set Doug off? Jessica politely refused to wear her bikini top on camera during a promotional shoot, opting for a branded t-shirt instead because her grandmother might be watching. She had no problem with the uniform during regular shifts, but national TV was another story. This seemed like a thoughtful boundary, right? Not to Doug. He ranted to producers, saying he was fucking pissed and grumbled, "It's called bikinis, not t-shirts."
Jessica's not in a bikini top. I was pissed.
As though modesty was some unforgivable offense. You could almost hear the tension in the room as he fumed. Then came the big reveal. Doug dropped his Jake disguise and sat down with Jessica for her final evaluation. What followed was extremely awkward. While he acknowledged her overpouring incident, it became clear that the real reason for firing her was her refusal to wear a bikini on national television. That was the deal breaker. Jessica, blindsided and upset, was fired on camera for choosing not to appear in a bikini. She walked off in tears, with the moment quickly becoming one of the harshest and most divisive firings in the show's history. Doug's final message: if you won't wear a bikini, you don't belong at bikinis. But the situation took an even worse turn. Moments later, Doug handed out a reward that escalated the controversy. He offered a breast augmentation as a performance bonus to another waitress, Grace. You read that right. On national TV, he told her, "If you rock it for the next 6 months, I'll pay for your boobs." Grace was ecstatic, laughing that the upgrade would make her job easier since they do the talking. Yes, this was said out loud. One woman was fired for covering up, while another was praised and surgically incentivized for doing the opposite. It was surreal. The backlash came quickly and ferociously. Viewers recoiled, social media exploded, and words like exploitative, gross, and tone-deaf dominated the reactions. Twitter was flooded with disgusted opinions. One unforgettable Yelp review read, "Why would any self-respecting woman spend a dime in this place?" The scandal grew so messy that even Time magazine covered both Jessica's firing and the breast augmentation offer, noting the Twitterverse was not pleased. The public collectively cringed. What started as an HR-themed reality show turned into a PR disaster for Bikini Sports Bar and Grill. Fun fact, the entire chain quietly closed down a few years later. Coincidence or poetic justice? When it comes to callousness, this firing took it to a new low. Doug Guller sent a clear message that brand image mattered more than employee dignity. Sure, it made headlines, but for all the wrong reasons. Hilariously, the only positive outcome was the wave of memes mocking the absurdity. One popular joke, dress code violation. That's a tissue. The absurdity practically wrote itself. In the end, Jessica walked away with her self-respect and the overwhelming support of the audience, while Doug walked straight into a public relations disaster. It's the kind of moment that lives on in internet infamy, cringeworthy, frustrating, and unintentionally hilarious in its flawed logic. The takeaway: don't run a so-called family-friendly business if your idea of leadership involves punishing someone for choosing modesty, especially on primetime TV. This incident won't be forgotten anytime soon. It's a bizarre mix of workplace drama, personal ethics, and corporate absurdity, served with a side of nachos and questionable decision-making. Finis Modells Sporting Goods, no game for this player. Claiming the number 5 spot is a retail disaster from Undercover Boss Season 5, featuring Modells Sporting Goods. CEO Mitchell Model went undercover to uncover hidden talent within his staff, but instead he discovered a major foul. A team member whose attitude was anything but supportive.
Oh my God. I'm going undercover because...
This employee had no idea that the quiet new hire standing beside them was actually Mitchell, the CEO of the iconic family business. Imagine this. Joe the trainee, aka Mitchell in disguise, standing by as an irate employee, ranted about customers, ridiculed their inquiries, and criticized the store's prices and reputation. "Our stuff's overpriced," the employee scoffed, adding, "This place is a joke." As if that wasn't bad enough, they tried to rope Mitchell into the negativity. "Right? Isn't this place ridiculous?" Mitchell kept his composure, playing along just long enough to hear the full extent of the disrespect. But underneath his disguise, you could tell he was furious. It's hard to think of a better way to get fired than trashing your company in front of its owner on national television. When the mask came off, so did Mitchell's patience. Appearing as himself, fully in CEO mode, he didn't mince words. The employee's behavior was absolutely unacceptable. He made it clear Models was built on respect for customers, and anyone insulting shoppers or the company had no place working there. It wasn't just a firing, it was a swift and decisive rebuke. The message was clear: disrespect Models, and don't expect to collect Models' paychecks. The employee was completely caught off guard. One moment they were mocking the store, the next, they were being escorted out by the man who signs their paycheck. Talk about an epic workplace fail. You could practically hear the whistle blowing as Mitchell threw the penalty flag. What made this firing so impactful was the contrast. Earlier in the episode, Mitchell was deeply moved by the hardworking employees he met, one even living in a homeless shelter, with Mitchell stepping in to help. But when it came to this toxic worker, no second chances, no gestures of goodwill, just a firm handshake and a swift exit. The internet had no sympathy for the fired employee, bad-mouthing the boss's business to his face. "That's not bravery, that's stupidity," one user tweeted. Fans cheered as Mitchell stood up for the brand and its customers. Social media erupted with praise and admiration. "That guy thought he was at spring training," one commenter joked. "Mitchell cut him from the roster before he even got to warm up." It became the perfect example of what not to do when you think no one important is listening. The irony of it all was both brutal and brilliant. In a world where customer service is critical to success, Models made it clear treating customers poorly isn't just a bad habit, it's a fireable offense. Mitchell didn't just protect the company's integrity, he sent a message to everyone watching, both inside and outside the business. Attitude and loyalty matter. Employees who lift others up will always succeed. Those who bring the brand down, they'll be shown the door. This is exactly why Undercover Boss is so captivating. The disguises, the deception, the big reveals, all part of the fun. But at its core, it's about those real moments where values collide and decisions must be made. In Mitchell Models' case, he didn't hesitate for a second. One bad attitude didn't just cost someone their job, it reaffirmed why respect is essential in customer service. And there you have it. 5 of the most unforgettable and shocking firings ever shown on Undercover Boss. From the cocktail-driven chaos at Bikini Sports Bar, to a front desk meltdown at Retro Fitness, and from a sports store employee trash-talking to a manager so toxic a CEO shut down an entire restaurant, these moments were more than just firings. They were lessons. We witnessed CEOs remove their disguises, lose their patience, and sometimes even drop their professional guard, all to protect customers, company culture, and basic decency. Whether it was a bartender being fired for setting boundaries, a gym manager cursing in front of clients, or an employee mocking the brand to its literal owner, each one of these people received a one-way ticket out the door into reality TV fame. But beyond the drama and viral moments, these stories reveal what happens when values clash. Some employees rose to the occasion while others didn't, and the ones who failed did so in the most spectacularly public fashion. So, what are your thoughts? Which firing shocked you the most? Did the CEOs go too far or not far enough? Leave your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button. If you enjoy some corporate drama, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into workplace chaos, reality TV gold, and the wildest HR moments caught on camera. Until next time, remember, in the working world, someone's always watching.